me along, Henry. It's nice to be here with you. For anyone who has no idea who I am yet, which I don't blame you for in the slightest, my name's Steve. I am the new Christian minister in First Castleberry and Toledo, or Garbicha and something else. And that's as much as it begins with M. And I've just recently moved here with my family. I'm married to Jill, and we have two girls, Emma and Chloe, who are 6 and 3. And so Andrew very kindly asked me to come along just to share a bit about my life and my testimony, how God has been at work in my life and how I've been saved, and I suppose what He's been doing since then, which has led me to be standing here tonight and whatever else has come to us. So I'm originally from Newton Abbey, so literally straight across the country to the far side until you get to the water, and that's where I'm from. I was born there and did primary school in that part of the world. Enjoyed it, lived in a big terrace area, loads of houses, all my friends were around me, and I went through primary school there. I was blessed, very much important that I was born into a Christian home. Both my parents were saved, very committed to church life, and a number of other family members, grandparents were saved as well. And so I grew up in a Christian home. I grew up around just hearing about the Bible and faith, and I was very much told that was true and accepted that, because as a child, obviously what your parents tell you and everyone else family-wise they tell you generally go along with it, don't you? And so I was very accepting of all that. I enjoyed being a part of the church, the BB, and other things. I just didn't like Children's Day, where I was going to go to the front and sing in front of everybody, but what boy really wants to do that. But then I had a very major moment in life, just as I came towards the end of primary school, in that my dad did this absolutely crazy thing, and he became a Presbyterian minister, and he moved us from Newton Abbey to Castleberry, and so we moved to the Strabane Road there in '99. And that was, in many ways, a major moment in my life. We had literally moved the whole way across the country. I left everything I knew behind me. My friends, my family, the style of where I lived. As I lived in a big row of houses, streets of one streets, and we all kicked football out there and all that. So to come to this place where I was looking around going, what are these things in this field beside me going, moo? And what is that smell? And just going, what has gone on here? But you go on with it, and got involved obviously in the church that was here, was going to the likes of the BB and the youth fellowship. But after a while, to be honest, I have to admit, I grew to hate it. Which is a terrible thing to say, and I feel very awkward, but one that I felt that way at the time, and I haven't come back to say, I hated it. It's just because I had left everything that I knew behind, and as an 11-year-old boy, I knew for sure what the absolute best thing for me was. I had it sorted, and this wasn't quite it. I went from my friends being literally, you could throw a stone across the road and hit their house, to I think my closest friend might have been about 15-minute drive away. It was just a very different way of doing life, and I didn't take to it as I probably should have done. And being a teenage boy growing up, I did the only sensible thing I could do. I decided that God had gone out of his way to ruin my life, because what better things do you have to do than ruin my life? I couldn't see past that. All I could see was me and the fact that life wasn't going the way I wanted it to, and so it must have been conspired to ruin everything for me. And so I stopped caring about church. As I say, I grew up in a Christian home where I'd been told about the faith, and I accepted clearly God was there. I knew my parents believed it, but looking back on it, I suppose I wouldn't have put it bluntly like I'm doing now. The reality is, I had decided that I knew God existed, but He wasn't doing what I wanted. So if He wasn't giving me the life that I thought I wanted, I didn't really care. So I wasn't the person who didn't believe in God. I just wasn't that bothered about it. I was still made to come along to church every Sunday. I went to the BB for a while. I kept going to the youth fellowship, and as the years went on, I gradually became more and more reluctant and unenthusiastic. And I'm sure it was a joy to be around for everyone in church because of it. Again, as only a teenage boy could dare to do and show just by my look, never mind whatever I might have been saying. But I'm very thankful, because I didn't want to be at any of these things. And I got really frustrated that my parents insisted that I kept going for these things. Not because my dad was a minister and it would look bad if his son stopped going, but because they knew it was really important, and actually it was what I needed, even if I wasn't willing to see it at the time. And I remember there was occasionally the youth fellowships in sort of the whole pressure, so from down here all the way up towards Derry, we would have got together occasionally done youth rallies, and we would have gone to those. I remember being dragged along to one, and I remember sitting in the bus, looking out the window, pretending there was no one else in the bus. I wasn't talking to anyone. This was how it was going. And I remember going. I don't really remember much about what happened that night, but I remember God very much speaking to me, and very lovingly, as he did, tell me to wise up. That God actually wasn't going out of his way to ruin my life, and actually his plans are far better than mine. I thought I had great plans for myself, and I'm really glad looking back now that basically nothing that I had planned for my life has ever panned out, because everything God's had for me has been better. And I remember giving my life to the Lord that night, and coming away really enthusiastic about this. I'm happy in a way that maybe I hadn't really been before then. I had been living a very purposeless life in some ways. I was saying, Andrew actually came here, and the biggest thing for many years was my PlayStation. That was the most important thing in my life. And I came away actually enthusiastic about being in church, about going to hear about Jesus more, and actually starting to read the Bible for myself meaningfully rather than just sort of flicking through it a wee bit to get by, because that's what I had to do. And then that was sort of around about the time I was going through the GCSEs. And so in my heart, I kind of had changed, and I knew that, but I was hesitant about actually making that change. You know, I'd made friends, and I had cultivated all sorts of really bad habits that I was nervous about letting go of, because then people would think it was weird. And then not long after that, then we actually moved. My dad got called to a church just outside Ballymoney, and so we moved, and I got more involved so in church life from that stage. And then after I finished school, I moved back to Newton Abbey, which has allowed me the opportunity to be one of the few people probably who has moved from Newton Abbey to Castlegar twice so far in their life. That's quite funny how God has done these things. I left thinking, I'm not sure I'll be back, and now here I am going, I'm hoping I'm going to be here for a long time. Over the years then, just God has really been at work. I started as an electrician, so I didn't come wanting to be a minister after I got saved. I knew after I got saved I wanted to do whatever God wanted me to do, but there was only one thing I would never do for it. I would never become a Presbyterian minister, because I'd seen it and knew how awful that was. So again, you'll see my ways and God's ways don't always work as well in unison as maybe they should do, and that's something I need to pray more about to this day. But God has been really good. I thought God was going out to ruin my life as a teenager, and actually looking back on it now and seeing how things have worked since then, all I've seen actually is God's goodness to me. In the family that I've been raised in the very lovely, beautiful wife that He's given me, the children that He's given me, the opportunities I had to serve in my home church down in Newton Abbey as I got involved there, and then coming to the realisation that actually God was calling me to be a minister. Which when I woke up one day thinking that might not be the worst idea, having had about 15 years of knowing it was the worst thing in the world, it was terrifying. And I didn't want to get out of bed that day, because like, if I get up, this might happen. And so I left it for about a month and didn't tell anybody. Jill and I had started going out. She was living in England studying, and I would go over occasionally to meet with her. And so I'd gone over and I thought, you know what, I'm sure this is the girl I'm going to marry. So she needs to be on board with this, so I'll tell her. She knows me well enough, she can tell me this stupid wise up and carry on working out on site, and you'll be fine. But I wasn't confident about that, so I didn't tell her until like 10 minutes before we got on the plane. Nearly, I think we were having dinner just before going to the airport, and Jill, I have something to tell you. And I told her, and she went, I think that's a good idea. And I was like, no, what are you doing to me? I thought you loved me, and this is where you're going with this. And then again, I did nothing about it. This was like in May time, and I waited till Christmas, having to do anything else, hoping God would forget about it, because I've heard He did stop with His plans. But He didn't, and then I told my family, I told my minister, and everyone actually was very supportive, and the more people I told, actually the more excited I got about it, rather than feeling this is horrendous. And I've gone from not wanting to be a Christian to being delighted to be a Christian, going from being a Christian who doesn't want to be a minister to there's absolutely nothing else I want to do with my life. Having gone from having left Castlegar behind, assuming I probably wouldn't make it back again, because it's very far away, because it's such a big country after all, in the grand scheme of the world, I couldn't wait last month until we actually moved back here and get settled in. I've actually met a few people that I grew up with in school and stuff. And I'm so very excited to see what God's going to do with us here. I'm trying to hold my plans very lightly because I have learned one thing in life. God's plans are always best, and very rarely do they line up with mine. So thank you very much for having me. It's lovely to be here with you, as I say, and it's great just to have an opportunity just to share a wee bit about my life and just to say to you just from what I've experienced, God is good, and I hope that you know that and will continue to experience it here for yourselves individually and within your own church. So thank you very much.